Hi, guys. Welcome to How to Build a Team podcast. This is Pam and David, and now we have a very special guest all the way from Florida. So let me introduce you our guest. Her name is Erin. She is a corporate ladder climber turned online entrepreneur. After working as an executive assistant for some high-profile jobs like Governor of New Jersey, Vice Chair at BlackRock in Manhattan, she graduated to the role of Head of IT and Investor Relations. However, she was tired of working for other people and wanted to work for herself. So Erin started her online career as a virtual assistant, supporting other entrepreneurs in their business. She quickly moved into an online business manager role and then eventually a coach. Now she helps other 9-fivers start, did I say that correct? Start their own virtual assistant businesses. So without further ado, let's welcome Erin. Hi,
Hi.
Erin. Welcome to the show.
Hi. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
How are you today?
I'm great. I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. So I read your short bio, but please introduce yourself and tell us what you do.
Yeah, of course. So, yeah, kind of like you mentioned, I was in the corporate world for a while. I had some pretty high profile jobs. I was always that kind of like jack of all trades, or Jane of all trades rather, where I wore all the different hats. I was always the go-to person for everything, any part of the business, whether it was the president or the, excuse me, the accountant. I was the person who knew where everything was and how to do everything. So I always had that like really supportive role, and I was really good at it. But I was really tired of working for other people. And one of my favorite quotes is, if you don't start building your own dreams, people will hire you to build theirs. And I really
totally agree. Yeah.
yeah. And I was really tired of being in my office and seeing the people drive the nice cars and go on vacation without putting in any notice and all those things, where I was sitting in my cubicle like, I'm doing all the work.
Yeah.
So, and also my partner of 5 years, he took on a traveling physical therapy job. And so I felt this need to be remote all of a sudden. So I did take my corporate job online. I was the head of IT and investor relations. They let me take my job remote. However, after a month or so of doing that, it really is kind of difficult working for a non-remote company in a remote position. You get a lot of animosity from your coworkers, especially because I had moved from New Jersey to Florida. So I had a lot of coworkers who were stuck in the dead winter of, excuse me, New Jersey, saying, "Oh, how's the weather out there? How's the beach?" So I realized that I needed to start my own online business. I hired a business coach. She, told me about this whole world of virtual assistants, which I didn't even know existed. I had heard of a virtual assistant before Instagram, before social media were even a thing. But now with this social media platform, it's so much bigger. So I started my business as a virtual assistant, and I worked mainly with business coaches, because that's kind of how I was introduced to this world. And I did everything from, just like administrative work, managing their emails, managing their calendars. And then because I had all these really high profile jobs and I had so much experience under my belt with like high net worth individuals and, really big event planning and all that stuff, I kind of realized that there's also this other facet called online business management. And I was kind of more qualified to be an online business manager. So I switched my branding and called myself an online business manager. And I started making a lot of money online as an online business manager. And I was making great money as a virtual assistant too. It was really, really a quick transition from corporate into the online world in terms of, getting my finances back in track. And then after hitting a certain monetary goal as an online business manager, I said, okay, when I was building this business, I had someone kind of helping me do it as a business coach, but there were so many things that were specific to the VA world that she did not know about. She didn't know about my contract and rollover hours. And when I came to her and said, what do I do about, what my pricing my packages? She was like, oh, Google it, see what other people are doing. So because there were so many things specific to the VA world that I didn't know about until I went through it myself, I kept like really good notes, and I was like, okay, one day someone else is going to need to build their business, and these are the things they need to know. So that's how I got into the coaching part of it.
You know what? I can totally relate to your experience, Serene, because just like how you started, I started as a virtual assistant as well, and there came to a point wherein you can only do so much, and then you feel like, why am I working for somebody if I use all of my time and effort into building my own business? Then that could be awesome, right?
Yes,
And
absolutely.
it's yeah, and it's not just, it's when we start our own business, it's not just about us, me. It's more of really wanting to help other people. And
Yeah.
so you mentioned you hired a business coach. Can
Mm-hmm.
you tell us, share to our listeners how important it is to have a business coach,
Oh my
especially
gosh.
for those people who are starting out in their business,
Yeah.
how important it is to have a business coach, like how you help other business owners, being a
Absolutely.
business coach. Yeah.
Right. So I would not have gotten to where I got without my business coach. You can really Google your way through anything. You can absolutely do that. But what I really needed was the calls where she would say, "Okay, so where are you on your website?" And I would go, right, I'll work on that." Right? Because when you're being held accountable by a different person, you're that much more likely to actually do the thing. Whereas if you buy a course, or if you do all the freebies or things like that, you're really not likely to, or as likely to, get the ball rolling the way you would when you have someone who's literally sitting there saying, like, what are you doing? Where are you on that task? So not only was it helpful in the sense that, like, she, told me kind of like how to lay out the foundation of my business, but it was also just the accountability, and the mindset blocks. So I was very self-conscious about starting my own business. I was really worried about what my parents would think, what my friends would think. Putting myself online like that, in a really vulnerable way, where you start putting these big captions and talking about what you do and all that stuff. I was so nervous about it. I was like crying, like, I don't want to put pictures of myself on my Instagram, because I was doing all travel photos. I was in such a different place back then, and to have someone there to kind of hold your hand and like tell you how capable you are, and tell you how okay it is to do these things, and tell you how, like, look at me, look what happened when I did it, like this can also happen for you. I would not have gotten through those mindset blocks if I hadn't had her by my side. And that's actually one of the biggest things that my clients now struggle with, is putting themselves out there online, and really making that step where they go from personal, social media pages to like, hey, I have a business. Everyone gets so nervous about it. Everyone gets so anxious. And so it's actually one of my favorite sessions, because breaking through that and then seeing them go from like timid and scared to like just online
flourishing
every day. Not caring what anyone thinks. It's not only like a game changer for your business, but it's like a life changer to no longer hold that fear about what people think about you.
True.
I can totally relate to that as well. I struggle all the time. It's I make the joke that I have a face built for radio, not for video. But it's that whole just getting past yourself, and I've done it in little spurts. I had somebody kind of mentoring me a couple of years ago, and I was involved in a different business, and he's like, just do the videos, don't watch them, don't replay them, just shoot the video, 30 seconds, 2 minutes, do it, cut it, and post it. Don't watch it. And I committed. I did a whole series of videos, and I did them, and I put them up there, and I didn't watch them until several days after they'd been up. And I watched them. I'm like, okay, they're not awful. They're not, as good as I thought they were going to be, but they weren't as bad as I thought they could be.
Right.
And it's an ongoing struggle. And I see people in different industries that are on, like you say, on social media, on video, on, putting stuff out there every day. And when you watch them progress from when they first start to where they become a couple of months later, 9 months later, a year and a half later, and it's such an amazing change. And it's just that committing to doing it and having somebody hold you accountable to get there.
Yeah.
Totally.
And to add to that, David, you know what? I really think that, the first step really is to realize that you need help, that you need a business coach, or that you need somebody to help you scale or grow your business. Just like what you're doing with your clients, Erin. They come to you because they're struggling, and you're there to help them, handhold them, so that they
Right.
can, you know, cross to the other side. And just like what you said, be seeing them from zero to where they are right now, and comfortable in what they're doing, and overcame the obstacles. It's fulfilling. It's one another term of success for me. Seeing my clients succeed in their achieving their goals, it's a success already. And also,
Yeah.
it's having a coach is also part of you having them as, or he or she, as part of the client's business team. So do you
Mhm.
agree with that you are also part of your client's team when you do coaching with
Do you mean
them?
in the sense that when they then work for someone, that I'm also kind of a part of that?
You're kind of like part of the client's business.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. So, especially when they're first getting started. So, all of my clients, we work together for 12 weeks, and by the end of the 12 weeks, most of them already have clients.
Hmm.
So they'll come to me and and say like, "Oh my gosh, this girl hosts her website on WordPress, and I've never been in here, and like, what do I do?" And we'll get on a call and we'll screen share and we'll walk through it so that because most people in this business, they are able to pick things up rather quickly.
Right.
But a lot of times it's that first time where they're like, oh no, like what do I do? So yes, I still I definitely help them in that way as well, where it's not just hand holding and walking through things, but it's actual technical skills as well, where
Hmm.
um to the best of my knowledge, I'm not a web designer or anything like that, but
Hmm.
like I said, I was the head of IT at my last job, and I've kind of been around the block with that stuff. So I definitely help them with all those things as well. And then when they're in their business and they're dealing with clients, I mean, I've had some of my clients who have had difficult clients, right? And
Hmm.
so walking through those moments as well. How do you deal with difficult clients? How do you get rid of difficult clients? How do you ask for price
Yeah.
increases? How do you do all these different things? Yeah, so I basically am, in a way, part of their businesses as well.
Right. Right. Your journey with the client is really, a big part of their success as well.
Yes,
um
absolutely.
yeah. So can you share a little bit more of how you are able to help, like, give us an example of a client, or share with us a client that you are able to, from being a difficult client to, being kind of like, okay, she's okay now, kind of client,
So like
take
like
them
like
through a transition.
okay, so do you mean like a difficult client who I then was able to make less difficult?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I one of my first clients was admittedly difficult. She, when I was onboarding her, she said, "Hey, I'm very difficult to work with." So
Oh.
because she actually said that, it kind of gave me a little bit of like free reign to call her out a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but still, I'm not a very confrontational person. Most people, I feel like, who are virtual assistants are not very confrontational. We're all very
A
pleasant.
yes
A lot
person?
of us are
Yeah.
a lot of us are people pleasers. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. So when you have difficult clients, it really kind of like rattles you, right? So I had this difficult client. She was very pleasant, but very just difficult. And so what I would always do is I would always try and get her on the phone. That was like
Mm-hmm.
my number one thing, was like whenever we're communicating and the communication was getting lost and she was getting frustrated and, kind of like saying, she would say like a couple mean things to me here and there, just like, you're not good at this or things like that. And I would say, okay, why don't we get on the phone and talk about what it is you're experiencing? And then we get on the phone and she'd say like, she'd kind of have her, ramble about like, wow, all these things aren't working. And I'd be like, okay,
Yeah.
so this is what we need to do. And then just kind of like spell it out for her, like walk her
Mm-hmm.
through what needs to happen from A to Z. And then
Mm-hmm.
she would kind of be like, okay. And then we go on our separate ways and I do the things. And then after a couple of weeks, we get one of those things again where she kind of get upset. We get on the phone. So that would always be my number one recommendation is get the people on the phone. So much can be lost in communication when you're talking online, when you're talking via email, text, whatever. Sure. And Voxer. Voxer, I know a lot of people use that to communicate with their clients, but I don't like that because I have literally had clients, another difficult client who preferred Voxer, and she would say to me things in Voxer, and then she'd say them differently in Slack. So I'd say, okay, your voice message is not matching up with your text message. Like, written, which one do you need me to do? So yeah, establishing lines of communication too is also very important. Very important.
It's very crucial in having a successful, a project or a relationship with the client is really the communication. Just to share with you briefly, when I was starting in 2009 as a virtual assistant, I have no idea what I was doing. All I know is that I can communicate in English, I can operate a computer, but I had this difficult client. And this was my first interaction with foreign clients. I am based here in the Philippines, and I was working with, she's from California. Okay. And you need to really tell her what she needs to do. Like literally, you have to click this and do this, that kind of client. And it takes patience, and the communication really needs to be clear. And you have to be polite and professional. So, but the client was going through her divorce during that time, and she was, working with clients are like, they're like, I want to do this right now, as in right now. And you have to specify or be clear with communicating with them that we can't do that right now. It takes a while because this and that, because step 1, step 2, step 3, that kind of being clear. And you know what, just simply by being professional, polite, and being clear with your communication and being upfront and all that kind of things to the client, we became friends. We are still, we don't work with her anymore. I think I've worked with her for 2 years, and then she stopped her business. I don't know what she's doing right now, but we're friends on Facebook. And sometimes she would still, communicate with me. We would still chat. How are you? How's life doing there? Blah, 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 things like that. So I'm thinking, it really boils down to having a good communication, which leads to, trust and confidence with the client. It's very important. You may want to add something, David.
Well, the whole communication thing is huge for me. I come from a communications background, and Pam and I had the opportunity here 6-8 weeks ago. We were guest speakers at a virtual assistant seminar here in the Philippines. Oh, wow. And it was basically geared towards people working new in freelance jobs, or people who are still in corporate jobs that want to break free and get into the virtual assistant or graphic artist or project management, whatever it is, but become freelancers. Right. And one of the things that I spoke about was directly on communication. And these people are all here in the Philippines. The Philippines has a very, very high level of English. They're the highest English speaking country of any non-native English speaking country in the world.
Wow.
But one of the things I talked about is just because you're speaking English and your client, whether they be in the US or Canada or Australia or in Europe, wherever it is, just because you're both speaking English doesn't mean you're communicating.
Yeah.
And I said, if you're working with a client, you're new as a freelancer and you're nervous and you want to, do really well, you want to please them. But if you don't understand what they're telling you or asking you to do, you have to stop, go back and clarify what it is that they want, whether it's, an email, a text message, explainer video, or you're having a video conference. If you don't understand explicitly what they mean, you need to go back and start from the beginning again, because just because you're speaking the same language doesn't mean you're communicating. And it's,
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
I run into the same problem even with native English speakers. I'm, from Canada, and I find communication over the phone because you don't get so much. Email and texting is the worst because you get no vocal
Yes.
cues. On the
Right.
telephone, at least you get some vocal, but you don't get the visual, the physical cues like we do on a video. And
Right.
I'm a big fan of using video calls just for
Oh
that
yeah, me
exact
too.
reason. Just,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
get, you can see the eyebrows, you can see the smiles,
Yeah.
you can see the whole thing.
The facial reaction.
Yeah.
It's very important.
Right.
Yeah.
Communication
Right.
is so big. It's especially when you're dealing with people, different cultures, different backgrounds, different countries, different things.
Yes.
A lot of stuff can get lost in the static.
Right, absolutely. And it's even the same in just the corporate world, right? Like even when you're just getting an email from someone and you're like, oh my gosh, like what did I do wrong? And then like you talk to the person, they're like, hey, how are you doing? And you're like, oh, okay. Like obviously it wasn't a bad email. I just read it incorrectly.
Because you read it
Yeah.
from in your tone, not in their tone.
Right,
True.
exactly.
So
Yes, I
Erin,
completely agree.
Erin, what can you give to our listeners who are, business owners who are wanting to level level up their game? What can you give advice to them?
So business owners who are looking to hire virtual assistants or virtual assistants who are looking to level up?
And business coach as well. And for business owners who are struggling because they don't have somebody to advise them on what they need to do.
Yeah, totally. So if you are a business owner and you're trying to grow your team, I mean, the first thing you need to do is definitely like list out every single thing that you're doing throughout your day. And there you will find that there are probably more than 50% of your day can be outsourced. And one thing I like to tell people when they're trying to decide whether or not to hire out is a lot of people take their hourly worth by taking, how much they're making per month and dividing it by 40, right? Like 40 hours in a work week, that's kind of like the norm. However, if you are someone who's like a business coach, right? What you should really do is take your monthly income and divide it by the number of hours that you are actually pulling in money. So for me, that would be actually being on my business coaching call. So then my hours go from like 40 to like, I don't know, let's just say 10, for example, right? So that's my true hourly worth, right? So let's say my hourly worth based on that is like $250 an hour, right? Let's just say. If I am doing my own emails and my own social media and my own onboarding and my own client management, I'm essentially paying myself $250 an hour to do those things when I could be paying someone $25 an hour to be doing those things. So when you look at your business from that standpoint, it really opens your eyes to being like, okay, obviously like I'm worth this much per hour. I should be outsourcing all of the things that don't make me money. For some people that could mean you're being live on social media and things like that. Like, yeah, that is a big one that makes people money. They find people in the DMs and whatnot. But the client onboarding, the invoicing, the chasing invoicing, the contracts, all those things can absolutely be outsourced. If you are a virtual assistant and you're trying to up-level your business, there's so much you can do. You need to get really clear on your offering, on your packages, on your ideal client and like what you offer. I know niching is kind of like a diverted subject, I guess, where some people think you must niche, some people don't think you need to niche. I'm kind of in between. I kind of think that like it is good to niche because when you become like I was the virtual assistant or the online business manager for business coaches, and then word kind of spread that like, oh, like this girl, she knows how business coaches run, she knows how the best software to use, she knows all those things. So when you kind of position yourself like that, you really become like sought after and you're able to charge more. I mean, the reason I was making so much as an OBM was because I was like the elite OBM that all like this inner circle, oh, like, well, if she uses Erin, I should use Erin too. So when you get that reputation, you're really able to up-level your business. If you don't want to niche your ideal client, you could niche your offering, right? So rather than just being a general VA, you could be the VA who's the best at Pinterest. So that's a really big one right now is Pinterest. You could be the VA for podcasts. I know how to manage podcasts and book guests and all those things. You could be the VA who, so any sort of specific skill set. But I would definitely recommend, niching down in one way or another. True. And just because you niche down, it doesn't mean you need to get rid of or like not take on any other opportunities. Like I was the VA or the OBM for business coaches, but one of my clients was a physical dance studio in Canada. So, you're just because you are positioning yourself that way, it doesn't mean you need to turn down opportunities that don't fall into your niche.
I use that all the time, that people are afraid that if they niche, I ask them, like, who's your target audience? Who's your perfect client? They go, anybody that needs X or anybody that needs Y. And I go, okay, so you're the perfect person for absolutely nobody then. And people are afraid that as soon as they niche down, like, I'm going to be, an online business manager for business coaches. Like, but what about all the other people that need an online business manager? It doesn't mean you can't accept them as clients. They're just not the person you're targeting. You're putting your advertising, your marketing, your efforts into this.
Exactly.
And that will bring people from all over the place to you. And you can take those people. You're just not investing your time in targeting 17 different industries. You're targeting one industry.
Right. Right. If people want to work with you, they will work with you.
Yes.
Even now, I'm literally a virtual assistant coach, and I have a fitness person who came to me and said, "Hey, can you coach me?" So
that's
of
awesome.
course, I mean, but just because I'm very niched in this one area does not mean that I cannot help others as well.
Agreed.
True. And I really think, if the fastest way to success really is when you focus on your strongest skill. Just like what you did, you're not just the virtual assistant, just like what you said, but you leveled up your game by being the online business manager, and you specifically niche down your target market, and that is a good advice, Erin. Also for the business owners, you have to delegate your weaknesses and focus on the client facing task, the higher level type of task, which is, as the CEO or the business owner of your own company, then, focus on those things so that you can fastly grow your business, scale your business. Thank you so much for being on the show. Where can we find you?
So I am on Instagram at Erin Mort, and my website is www.erinmort.com.
Okay, perfect.
We'll put that information in the show notes for all of our listeners, so you don't have to be scribbling while you're driving.
It's actually at Erin.Mort, sorry.
We will be putting that in the show notes. So there you have it, guys. I hope you guys learned a lot from this episode. Thank you, Erin, for being on the show. We really had fun. We really appreciate it. So for anyone who's listening out there, you got tons of nuggets here. Just leave us a comment, give us some ratings, some love, and you can check us out at greatworkonline.com. We are also on Facebook, on LinkedIn, and on Instagram. So we will see you on the next episode. Thank you, guys. Bye.
Thank you.